All right, we ready? And grab your bag and go. That's it. Move, move. Go, 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 go. One, Armani suits and run.
All right.
All right, welcome to week 14, Armani Suits and Run. 3-2 week last week. Um, Came out of the gates a little slow. I think we were 0-2 to start the day. Had to pick up an afternoon game and then got on a little bit of a winning streak there with Sunday night and Monday night football. But 3-2 after a 5-0, I'll take it. I think wanted to keep some momentum going after that 5-0 week and get a net positive week. Got us to 30, 34 and 1 overall. So, go perfect again this week, and we're above 500. We go 4-0 and 1. We're at 500, 4 and 1. We're going to be a game right below. So, pretty solid week, pretty solid bounce back for us. In terms of the individual picks, so I was on the Rams minus 2.5. I think the read there was the Derek Carr read. The Derek fade spot going against a defense that gives up a lot of points, over 21 points per game. He does not play well. He did not play well. So we picked that one up. Kieran, you were on the Titans +6 against the Commanders, right?
Yeah.
And that was weird. What was the stat you pulled? It was like,
I was about to pull that up because I just thought of it too. It was something like the Titans were down like 24 nothing by the time Levis had his seventh drop back.
yeah, just an insane fluky. It was like we knew right away the game was not going to go where we needed it to. But I think the way in which it happened and the suddenness, the quickness was like, oh my God.
Yeah, okay. The Titans were already down 28 nothing on Will Levis's sixth drop back of the game.
Doesn't even make like sense.
Yeah. Well, it's like
Yeah.
one of those things where, and I watched like a decent amount of these Titans games too, but I would always see stats about, oh, they have like the worst special teams ever. And I mean, I'm not like a huge special teams guy. I look and I see, okay, are they tackling guys on punts? Are they allowing kick returns to go for touchdowns, anything like that? But then you realize like when it's consistent and then the punter is not getting good punts off and it's either going out of bounds or it's going short or kickoffs are allowing good field position or just returns in general for touchdowns. Those start to add up because, like, when it happens once, you kind of just see it, say that was a cool play, and then you just move on. But yeah, all of a sudden when you're watching, like, holy shit, the special teams is consistently setting their opponent up to go on a scoring drive. That's when you realize, holy shit, that's really bad. But yeah, I mean that's a team. I've been a big Will Levis defender all year, and at the same time, I understand that he hasn't been perfect, and especially early on before the injury, he was making a lot of stupid mistakes. But I still thought so much of what he was doing was good up until those mistakes, and he's come back. He's played really good quarterback since returning from that injury, and I even said that in my read. I felt like him getting that rest kind of worked the same way that Bryce Young's benching worked for him, where he just needed to step back, take a breath, and kind of reset and get back into it. So he's been playing well. And I really hope that he can survive through the draft, at least through the first day, if not the second round, that they don't take a quarterback, because I think that they just need to continue to strengthen that line and then focus on this defense and the special teams, because I think that's where they're losing a lot of these games. But yeah, they gave us some hope at in the third, fourth quarter. We thought, holy shit, they might actually be able to make this interesting. Obviously, that was too big of an uphill climb for them, but yeah, it was just one of those where early it was like, all right, I could probably turn this off.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I mean, we were even like betting live spreads, just trying to get something out of that game. It was like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And I don't even think, what did we get at one point? Like, I think we got like 14 and a half, and that wasn't even close. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
I think they might have gotten inside the number before the end. Yeah, and then it was just one of those where, yeah, you can only score so many unanswered points or only go on so big of a run before the other team finally
Yeah, they got
gets
they
back.
got it, they got it to 28-13
Okay, yeah.
with a field goal. And then I think at that point there was like so they got a field goal and then a pick
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
another field goal. And we were like, oh, hold on a minute. I think I might have even been texting like, do we need to smash the live money line? Um, and then the Commanders immediately scored a touchdown. 35-13, and then they ended up trading touchdown at the end too.
Yeah.
So yeah, but anyway, all right. So that actually broke for you, Kieran, for four-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Good month.
Yeah. Hey, nice little run going.
Yeah.
And then Bowen, you were on the Bengals -3.
Terrible.
I mean, I don't know what's going on in Cincinnati, but holy shit.
I mean, that head coach like has to get fired, right?
I mean, I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, there's a lot of coaches that just need to get fired. I don't know who's
Dude,
gonna
like
some
how do you let Russ Wilson respectfully? How do you let Russ Wilson do that to you? I
just
don't know. I don't know. They seem like they didn't practice or have any game plan just from the jump. There was no juice. The offense continued to do their thing, but it didn't matter. So
I think I saw something. I think it was Jamar Chase in the locker room where they were basically asking, like, do you guys feel like you have to score every time? And then he was like, yeah.
they
Yeah.
need to score every
Every
time, and
time we
then
get the
like
ball.
they also need to get like a fortunate turnover too. I feel like it's like they can score every time and still somehow lose by like two touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like it was that was ugly. So
I did see, I think I sent it to you, Zach, first round mock. He was saying Belichick to Cincinnati. I would love to see that.
I would love to see that too.
But what I saw in the replies is that I guess the ownership in Cincinnati, I don't think that they're the type of people to pay two coaches at once. And I guess Zach Taylor has like two years left on his deal. So I think their ownership at least has the reputation as people that they're gonna at least let him see this through and then move on when they're no longer on the hook for paying him.
That's
So it might be another 2 years.
that's pathetic. That's pathetic.
All right,
But whatever.
you guys keep talking. Cleo's playing in the litter box right now, and I need to get Sarah to come up here.
Got it.
I can
Going.
pause the recording. How about that?
Yeah,
Um,
All right, we're back.
all right. All right. So back to the Bengals. They stink.
yeah, they stink. Done.
All right. So on the individuals, in terms of records, so my win 5-7-1. Bowen drops to 4-9. So I created a little bit of space, got about a
Yeah.
game and a half lead there. And then Kieran 9-4. So I think how many weeks are there?
I'm dormied, as Jeff
18.
D'Lo would say.
Yes. Yes, you're dormant.
Yeah, we'd at least have to go to the tiebreaker.
Which with the tiebreaker, it's you're 18-15, Bowen's 13-20. So you'd have to
Well,
go.
what are the individual? Because I was thinking for tiebreaker, it's just your record just for the prime time.
Oh, just for the prime time. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I would just take your individual record out of this overall.
Yeah.
So you're 18-15, but your individual is 9-4, which means you're 9-11. Bowen, 4-9, 13-20. So he's also 9-11.
All right.
Interesting.
But if I win this week, then it's
Yeah.
well, no, because I guess if Bowen also wins, then it's not right.
Well, I mean, all you need
Yeah.
at this point is you win or Bowen. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you win, it's over. If Bowen loses and you lose, you still are good.
Yeah. Well, no, because I'm saying technically, right? If Bowen and I both win, then it just gets pushed into next week, right? So
It just gets
I
pushed.
need Bowen to lose.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, no, if you win and Bowen wins,
Yeah.
it doesn't get pushed because you would maintain.
That's right. Because I'd still be
That
5.
same
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah.
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 So basically, you have to lose out and Bowen has to win out.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the only way. Which would be awful for
Oh,
Yeah, that would suck. I
Probably
was
too.
gonna
it'd be
say that'd be like
hilarious though.
that. It
It
would be
would.
hilarious, but it would also fucking suck. Just feel like the
Yeah,
our group record would just like
yeah.
you're our cash cow over here. Like we need you firing.
Yeah,
What am I, 9-4?
9-4.
What does that come out to percentage wise? 69%, not too bad.
Nice. All right, let's get into the primetime games. So Sunday night, this was going to be the snow game, was the snow game. Bills and Niners. It was a 7-point spread. Bills were 7-point favorites. Kieran and Bowen were on the Bills -7. That was the correct side. I was on the Niners +7. Um, I do think we probably benefited from McCaffrey getting hurt early. He definitely looked like he was finding a lot of room to run, a lot of space. I know he was in a lot of props, a lot of parlays. But I think he had what, like 50 yards early. He was uh,
Early.
early too.
He had one run where he almost broke it off too.
And
Like
that's the
he
one
got
he,
And
like
that's the
he
one,
got
yeah,
hurt
it's the
on.
one that they think he got hurt on.
Yeah,
yeah.
the shoestring tackle. It was like an 18-yard run. Um,
That was fucking brutal.
yeah, he was averaging like 7.5 a carry. Um, Goes down, and it just changed the complexion of the game. It really did. But once he went out, Bills kind of, put their foot on the gas and did what they do in that weather. Great statement win for them. I think Josh Allen probably solidified his MVP case until Lamar probably, runs and throws for 6 touchdowns this week, and all of a sudden,
I will say it's a bit of an early peak for an MVP.
Yes.
Like
could be.
he had his MVP moments in weeks 12 and 13.
Yeah.
Pretty early.
Well, I think at this point, like for him, he's just gonna like he's got to sustain. You
Yeah.
know, like, he can't have what will flip the narrative is if he has a bad week and they lose a game and Lamar goes off, and then all of a sudden there's going to be. But I just feel like with where they are right now, especially in relation to where, um, like Lamar is, like I think it's going to be hard for Lamar to catch him. I think Saquon maybe can make a case.
It really depends what they do. If Sirianni lets Saquon go off this week against or potentially could go off this week against the Panthers,
Yeah.
but I don't know if the Eagles are really in the market of running Saquon into the ground. I think they've shown to pull Saquon in games that are blowouts
Well, and
more often than not
yeah.
because
I mean, the only thing they got going for them is they're a game back of the Lions, right? Did they play head to head?
yeah,
I
Who?
don't remember. Lions and Eagles?
No. Or
no,
did they? No,
I
no, they don't play well this year.
Because they're a game back. I mean, they definitely can still play for that number one overall seed,
no definitely.
you know?
So here's something too, right? I'm looking at schedules. So I kind of just consider Lamar, Saquon, Allen the only three that are really in the conversation right now.
Yeah.
The Ravens, they have an okay schedule. They finish with the Giants, the Steelers, the Texans. So those are two pretty good matchups right there.
Yeah.
And then they finish with the Browns, week 18.
Yeah.
The Eagles, they have Carolina this week. Then they have the Steelers.
Yeah.
Then they finish with Commanders, Cowboys, Giants.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills, which could make or break Allen's case, because I'd say that both of those schedules are kind of like whatever, like do what you got to do. There aren't
Yeah.
many like key games on there. The Bills have the Rams this week. That's a losable game. They're in
Trappy
LA.
line, very
Then
trappy.
they play the Lions the next week. That could really be what decides the MVP race because if Allen comes out and beats the Lions,
Yep.
then that's probably it. Like that probably locks it up, especially in week 15.
In their house.
Yeah, at Detroit. But if they come out and they lose, and even worse, if the Lions are actually able to kind of shut them down, that like kicks the door wide open, assuming that Saquon and Lamar continue to play at their level. And
Well,
they don't necessarily have an opponent that can knock them off. I mean, Saquon against Pittsburgh will probably be his biggest test, and we'll see,
yeah,
if he can kind of overcome that run defense. But I mean, if he can go off for a big game there, then it's like, holy shit, maybe we should be taking him seriously as an MVP at running back.
yeah,
There is also a possibility that Sirianni does, if it gets to that point this weekend with 12.5 point spread against Panthers defense that's been horrific against the run this year. Um, they could let Saquon just really get loose and stack the numbers and get even closer. I think he needs to average like a little over 100 yards per game rushing the rest of the way to get to 2,000 yards. If they were able just to like almost make that 2,000 yards a guarantee after this week with a really big performance. I think MVP would get pretty interesting then. If Saquon starts getting into like best rushing season of all time, that I think deserves a lot of thinking about. But
Saquon
tough.
already has 100 scrimmage yards a game locked up. Like unless he runs for negative 66 yards this week, like he's already at 1766 for the season. That's scrimmage yards. Um, that's crazy. And but like it's just funny to me, right? Because obviously with the tush push and everything, Sirianni gets the rap of like, oh, he's stealing touchdowns from him, he's not letting him score.
yeah,
He already has the second highest overall touchdown total of his career, and he has he's tied for the highest rushing touchdown total of his career already through 12 games. So it's like obviously, we know that there are so many opportunities and that he could have like 20 already.
yeah,
But it's fine. I mean, it's even like kind of like last year where people were so mad that Arthur Smith wasn't running Bijan Robinson into the ground, and you look, it's like, well, he was. Like top 15 in carries, maybe even top 10, and then he had like 1,000 yards and everything like that. So it's not like he didn't use them. It's just that fantasy players were pissed that he wasn't getting a million touches. But I
yeah.
mean, he's still like Saquon's still getting a ton of touches, a ton of yards, and a ton of touchdowns.
I mean that offense goes through him for
Yeah.
sure. All right, so picked up the win, got to 2-2 going to Monday night. Kieran and I were on Broncos -5.5. Bowen was riding Jameis, and the Browns +5.5. You know, Broncos prevailed, but I feel like everybody won
Oh yeah.
on Monday night.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like everybody, like, even if you had a Browns Jameis ticket, you got the full Jameis experience, and that's all you can ask for, you know? But thankfully for us and Armani suits and run, we were on the Broncos side, couple pick sixes, picked up the W, 3-2 week, and we ride that momentum into week 14.
I was pretty nervous when we started 0-2 that we were gonna go 5-0 and then immediately follow up with like a 1-4, 0-5. That was my fear going into like that 4 o'clock slate was like, oh fuck. Like, we
You
cannot
know,
we cannot be 0-3
the
going into
way the
prime
way
time.
we res the way we responded though, like that tells me that we're in a different space right now. You
Yeah,
know, I mean
yeah.
to start out 0-2, come back, pick up three straight, end up with a positive week. I feel like maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago might have been different, might have been in a different place, but feel like we've got a good momentum shift that's happening here, and just need to carry that into week 14.
Yeah, yeah.
With that, should we head to the wheel?
Please.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me we're working on one screen this week.
Not gonna lie, I kind of don't want to go first this week. I kind of want to see how the board plays out.
Yeah.
I've got I've got a couple picks in particular that I'm a little torn on, and I'm kind of interested to see if one of them goes early. But the wheel will
All
decide.
right, you guys see it?
See
Yep.
ya.
All right. There you go, Tristan.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
That was always gonna happen. that was
I just manifested the shit out of
Yeah, you did.
that. Man, I'm torn between two games. But if the other game doesn't get picked, I'll tell you guys what it is later. Um, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins minus 5.5 over the Jets. Um, Dolphins are back home in a friendly environment. Obviously going to be in weather that they're more acclimated to. I think, despite the outcome on Thanksgiving night, I think when you take into account, just kind of the conditions where they were, like that's not where they thrive. They're back home. I think overall the body of work over the last 4 or 5 weeks, like it's a much different team. They still have a hill to climb. Like, I think in terms of their playoff hopes, like they are definitely on the outside looking in, but they're still in the mix. And they've got all the pieces back that they need to at least try and make a run at this thing. Meanwhile, like the Jets are essentially throwing in the towel. They're 1-8 against the spread since week four. Since week four, Rodgers 31st in EPA per play, 31st in success rate, 31st in CPOE,
Jeez.
26th in ADOT. I don't know what most of those stats actually mean,
Yeah.
but I do know that 31st and 26th is really, really bad. It also sounds like the Jets could be without four of their key starters. That includes Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner. Tua 3-1 against the spread, covering by 8.6 points per game against the Jets in his career. He's only faced them 4 times, but he's had a ton of success. So I just feel like this is a really nice spot for the Dolphins to bounce back after the Thanksgiving loss at home, get a win, get a convincing win, and see if you can set yourself up for a little bit of a run and at least make things interesting down the stretch.
I like the pick. I like the pick a lot. They were in my top three. Kind of like like you had said, Tristan. This week's a little weird. Like all three of the games, pretty similarly that I have on my card. But the Dolphins were there. Love the spot. The Jets are a dumpster fire. They have no direction. They have no leadership. They have no desire to want to play anymore. So I think, and also CJ Mosley, I believe, is on the IR for the rest of the year. I think he was one of the starters that got put out there. He's a big part of what they do on defense. So defensively, I know Sauce has been down this year and pretty bad all around, but CJ Mosley is one of their better players, in a general sense, on that defense too. So, I think that's probably a bigger impact to their actual defensive performance than Sauce being out. But yeah, I mean the Dolphins are still technically in it, and I don't expect them to come out and you know lay an egg at home. I think they come out and take care of business. Still waiting on that big Tyreek Hill game. Um, I don't think he's had that one game this year where it's been like, big touchdown coupled with a bunch of receptions and, yards. So like that to be the case this week, against the division rival.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Dolphins are probably the right side here. I just want nothing to really do with this game. I think both of these teams are just awful. I think the Jets, they're terrible. They're dead in the water. I mean, I've been banging that drum since Aaron Rodgers left Green Bay. It was kind of the same thing I said when Russell Wilson went to Denver, where it's like, why are we just assuming that this guy who was not good the year before,
Gonna
who's
make
now
it.
going to a roster that is not better than the roster he's leaving, is
Yeah.
suddenly going to improve this roster and make them into a playoff and Super Bowl contender? It never made sense. And Rodgers, as soon as he left Green Bay and they bring in Jordan Love, who everybody thought sucked, Jordan Love stepped in and was able to improve the team's record and get them into the playoffs after missing it in their final year with Rodgers.
Yeah.
Obviously, he tears the Achilles. That's kind of a sliding doors moment. If he stays healthy, who knows? Maybe it plays out different, but
Yeah.
that's also just what the Jets do, right? They build up these things. They think that this is the year, and then it comes crashing down tragically. Now he's back, and they thought, okay, this is part of our 2 year window.
Yep.
And they're talking about him getting benched. They're talking about him retiring, not returning next year. It's a complete dumpster fire. But I think these are two just uninspired teams. I do think that the Dolphins are soft narrative. I think I buy into that. Mike McDaniel shivering on the sideline last week because you got to fire.
Ah,
How can you bring the guy back? You're going to have to play games in cold weather, especially in the playoffs. You cannot bring back a red-nosed
that's,
twink that was shivering in the cold at Lambeau
Oh,
Field. That
Fred,
is
no.
embarrassing.
the only way that they can avoid that is if they are the one seed, because they are, but they're gonna have to play these teams in cold weather in the regular season. And if they can't get it done in the regular season, they're never gonna be the one seed, which means they're never gonna have the home field advantage. Like there's just like you gotta they gotta fix that identity down there.
Yeah, and
Like
it's like, everybody loves the player coach. Oh, he gets us, he gets us. And then you get into these positions where you actually need somebody to be tough on you. And I don't think he can be that. Like he's too focused on being cool. He's too focused on being one of the buddies. Actually going back, we were talking about Arian Foster earlier, but he was talking about how like, he just never really fucked with Belichick as a coach because that's not the style of coaching he likes. And I get that, right? And
yeah,
some guys they get into the league and they just they want to it's their job. They want to make their money, they want to provide for their family. If they win a Super Bowl on the way, then that's great. But to me, that's why, a guy like Arian Foster, he played on the Texans who could never make it past the divisional round because that's just, they wanted a coach that fucked around with them and played slap and tickle and all that. It's like sometimes you just need a guy to be an asshole and be like, get your fucking head on straight and fucking
yeah,
play the game. But
yeah,
yeah, I think McDaniel, I'm starting to come around right when he got his first 2 years in, right, everybody started making the comparisons to Brian Flores, where it's like, he's got the same record as Brian Flores did. Okay, what if neither of them are good head coaches?
yeah,
Like, we don't have to make it that one's a good head coach and one's bad. What if neither of them are good head coaches? What if both of them are better as coordinators? Like, what if that's
yeah.
just what they should do? Brian Flores goes back to being a coordinator where he was great in New England, and
He's got
now
a
he's
great
thriving
defense.
as the defensive coordinator in Minnesota.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what Mike McDaniel should do. Maybe he should just be focusing on the offensive side of the ball, not have
yeah,
to be a rah-rah guy, not have to be a leader of men. Maybe that's what he's better suited for. I just don't think that he has what it takes to really get
yeah,
Miami over this hump. And I think that we've seen that over the last couple of years. Whenever they had to go into play in cold weather, it's pathetic. And Tua said he wanted to kill the narrative, and he played a decent game. But yeah, I mean, it felt like they just never had a chance. But yeah, like you said, I mean, the Jets, they're like a whole different level of awful. I mean,
yep,
this is supposed to be like the best Jets season in the last 15 years, and
Yeah.
this is supposed to be the worst Patriots season in the last 30 years,
yeah.
and we might be better than them.
Look at where we are. Yep,
So it's like the Jets are a whole different level of awful. So I mean, even though it's a pretty big number for what I think are two bad teams, I'm
yeah,
still taking the Dolphins at home.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to see Tua just throw all over them because I do feel like they're in a spot where it's like we still kind of have a chance. We got to come out and just put up lay a crooked number on them.
yeah, yep. All right, let's go back to the wheel.
All right. Shit, wait, hold on. All right, you guys see it?
Mm.
Hmm?
Wow.
Wow. All right, this is kind of a hold your nose pick, I think. But it jumped off the page to me. I was looking at the numbers. I really like the stat matchup, and then I just pulled up. I was looking for a specific stat for one of the players, and then I just saw a bunch of things that I think actually play in my favor pretty well. I'm taking the Giants at home plus 4.5 against the Saints. One thing that sticks out to me is that they don't have Taysom Hill. I couldn't find the stat. It's on the house call sheet. I just don't remember which week, and I don't feel like scrolling through a million different weeks of house call to try and find it, but at least this season, and I don't know about overall, but the Saints offense is always just way worse when they don't have Taysom Hill in any capacity. And Taysom Hill obviously is now out thanks to Ben Mintz. He has torn his ACL. He's out for the year. Uh, Hill has missed 4 games this year. The Saints have scored 13 or less in 3 of them. The fourth game, they scored 27 points. One of those, first of all, they were getting blown out. They allowed 51 points. So I think that the scoring numbers are a bit inflated because of that. But also, they had one of those touchdowns that they scored was a punt return. So that's not even the Saints offense. Their offense put up 20 points. So 20 or less in all 4 games without Taysom Hill this year. I can't speak to everything for his whole career, but I know that that's a big drop off there. The Giants, they're coming off extended rest. They played on Thanksgiving. I thought they played a pretty good game. I forget what the score was, but I actually thought they played pretty well with Drew Lock coming in. They actually put up a bunch of points. They scored over 20 points for the first time in like a month. Derek Carr, he's bad in the cold. He struggles against high scoring defenses, like you went off of that stat last week, Tristan. And then he also has a poor record as a favorite. And he's a road favorite here. So I'm going to fade him in that position. I think that Drew Lock actually has some juice. We saw it last year when he played in Seattle and he led them to that win. He was doing the backpack thing, all that stuff. So I like him. I think it's too big of a number for a bad Saints team that's on the road as a favorite without Taysom Hill. So I'm going to take the Giants plus 4.5 here. I think they can win outright.
This was my other pick.
Nice.
Weather at MetLife, 40 to 45 degrees outdoors in the spot as a favorite. Carr is just 1-4, and he's failed to cover by more than 7 points. You shouted out the bottom tier defense trend with Carr. He's also awful as a favorite, 22-9-2. He's the worst QB since 2003. As a road favorite, it's even worse, 114-1 as a road favorite in his last 16 starts. The only cover he had was against another indoor team, which was the Colts.
Yeah. Like, I feel like it's one of those things, just you got to have a little extra coverage over the top to make sure Valdez-Scantling doesn't, burn you like he seems to do every single week.
They'll probably get one,
Yeah.
but that'll probably be it.
And I mean, even if he does, try and limit it to just being a catch.
Yeah.
Don't let it be a touchdown. If it's a 70-yard catch and you gotta make them try and get into the end zone and maybe settle for a field goal, that's fine. Just don't let it be a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, I think that Drew Lock actually can do this. I think Malik Neighbors obviously popped up on the injury report, but assuming he's playing, I mean, he's long overdue. I think he's gone 2 months without scoring a touchdown. Maybe longer, because I think in the middle of that, I think I'm looking at like 8 games, but I think that when you look at the dates, it's probably longer because he had the concussion and everything. But he hasn't scored in forever, so he's long overdue. I think it's a good Tyrone Tracy matchup, and I think that Drew Lock can come out and just sling the ball. I think that they have nothing to lose. Why not just have him come out and do it? At this point, he's playing. Let him try and earn those incentives. And just do the right thing by your players. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just too big of a number for a shitty team to be a road favorite.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Oh.
All right. The pick is Vikings minus 5.5 at home, going up against the Falcons. I like the matchup a lot for the Vikings offense. I think they'll be able to move the ball. For the receivers especially. Jefferson is due. It's been 6 straight weeks in a row without over 100 receiving yards. He also has not scored a touchdown. 6 weeks in a row without a touchdown, and 4 weeks in a row without over 100 receiving yards. I do like it for Addison as well. I think he's going to get loose. He's also starting in Kiernan's lineup. And like we have already talked about, the biggest week of his fantasy career the past few years. So I like those guys to get open. I like the Vikings to put enough points up to score way past this 5.5 number. I'm not going to let the shitty number scare me away from a good matchup. The Falcons last week and recently have been really struggling with Kirk at quarterback. There's been a lot of Michael Penix talk in the the ESPN news rounds and social media. I've seen a lot of people calling for Penix to go in. So much so that Raheem Morris had to actually address it at his coach's press conference during one of the practice days this week. And he, like you said, they have a lot of faith in Kirk, but they drafted Michael Penix with a purpose, and he is going to be their guy eventually. So it feels weird over at Atlanta. They are in the midst of a division, battle between the Bucks. But it just doesn't really feel like that. It feels like that for the Bucks. It feels like the Bucks are playing for something and trying to win. And the Falcons, it just feels like they don't really know what they are yet. And they're kind of in between quarterbacks. And Kirk, I mean, last week had one of the most egregious. It looked like a Mac Jones interception that he threw, like the touch pass in the end zone and like to triple coverage. So obviously, like there's something off there mechanically with him. He's been one of the worst deep ball throwers in the league this year. And I just like the Vikings to apply enough pressure on his old bones and old legs, to just have him in hell all day. He does terrible against pressure. A bottom quarterback in the league this year against pressure. So like Flores to have a game plan to kind of fluster Kirk enough to stifle that offense and not get past. Yeah, I don't think that they're capable of putting up like over 20 points this game.
Cousins 3-9 as an underdog since 22, worst of any QB. Since 2020, he's last of 92 QBs against the spread playing indoors, which is not good for a quarterback.
What? He plays in a dome?
Yeah.
I was just reading that stat. I was like, I feel like that can't be. It doesn't feel right.
That feels mean. That's a mean stat.
He's been so. I know they're talking about against the spread, but it's like he's been so good for the last few years in Minnesota, where they only play inside.
Yeah.
And you're now telling me he's actually bad inside?
Well, against, like you said, against
against the spread.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And what's funny though is like I thought the Vikings were actually like unbelievable against the spread last year. So if that's true that they were really good inside last year, that means that he was really bad before that. And I actually, now that I'm kind of talking through
but
it,
Kirk
I do feel
was
like
hurt
that was
though
the
last
case.
year, right?
Yeah.
Kirk got hurt like week 5 last year.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So they could have been good with him.
The Vikings were 7-10-1 against the spread in 2022.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. You know what? Maybe I'm thinking of their one score game record. I think that's what I'm thinking, because they were like unbelievable in one score. They were like undefeated in one score games last year. I think that's what I'm thinking of. They were like 9-0 or something, I had this game. This is also one of my games. I like it a lot. Yeah, it is kind of that number that I hate to pick, but I was just looking at it. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, but it is just kind of like with the way that Kirk's trending, and I just feel like Brian Flores is a guy that's like, we're not going to let him come to our house, which used to be his, and have his moment where it's, oh, Kirk Cousins back in Minnesota. He does all this. I feel like Brian Flores is going to do everything in his power to make sure that does not happen. So I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure. And, as we see on the stats, he's not good. I'm seeing right here, what is it? He's 1-3 straight up this year when he gets sacked 3+ times, and he's lost 3 straight. And he's 1-5 when getting sacked 3+ times over the last 2 seasons, which factors in, the half season that he had last year. So he's not good against the pressure, and especially coming off the Achilles, we know that his mobility is a bit limited. And he's looked better than he did in week 1, where it was like really concerning, but he's still not fully there. And not that he was ever a truly mobile quarterback, but yeah, even like I just pulled up the Action Network, that the article that they write with all the stats, and it's like all the headlines under that game is just Cousins struggles indoors. Falcons second quarter struggles. Cousins under trend in 2024. Cousins versus blitz heavy defense. Young Ho Koo struggles indoors. NFC North dominance versus non-divisional teams. It's like all these stats are just pointing in that direction too. So I feel like it's a good advantage for Minnesota. I think that they have the juice. I think that Darnold's great. I think it's a good matchup. I think it's going to be Justin Jefferson a ton of yards. I think Addison's going to score touchdowns, maybe 2. This does feel like a 2-touchdown game from Addison for me. But I just think that they're going to put numbers on the board, and I think they're going to put enough pressure that we just got to hope that it's going to be a touchdown.
I love that you're manifesting that 2-touchdown Addison. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stats. I like how it is,
This was the 3rd game on my card. So
nice.
Right now we are playing my card for the individual picks. Whether that's good or not, who knows? We'll see.
Nice.
So, but I had it for all everything we've talked about, just all the headlines to me point in the direction of the Vikings. So just felt like the right side to be on. So
Yep.
Sunday night.
Yep.
Wait, before we move, did anyone have the urge? I was playing with it back and forth like all week. Did anyone have the urge to play the Bears against the Niners? +4.
I go through, because I just write every game down, on my notepad. I have it, and then I figure it out from there. But I did have the Bears underlined when I went through, but then I saw that DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, I think they're both questionable, so I kind of just crossed that one off. But yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. It just feels like the Bears, they're trending in a better direction with Thomas Brown at head coach now, and then I think that they're just committed to Caleb throwing the ball a million times. But yeah, I don't know with those questionable injuries, I was kind of like, I don't know.
I
I do feel like Kittle's going to come back. It's a good matchup for him, so I think Kittle might come back. And
I I had two rules that canceled the game out. There was coming off the firing of a head coach, the 1 week bump. So I was like, all right, could lean Bears here. But they're also coming off playing the Lions, and we know the stat about
Boom.
teams do coming off a game against the Lions. So I just looked at that and I said, these two
that's
things
true.
these two things cancel each other out. I'm just going to stay away from the game.
It's a good call. I didn't even think about the Lions. The
Yep.
Lions, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well,
All right.
All right.
Chargers at Chiefs -4.
Yep. Wheel.
All right.
uh, every every fiber of my being is telling me to go Chargers. So Chiefs, -4. Lock it in.
I love it.
Everything is telling me Chargers. Like I want to pick the Chargers so bad.
Love the.
It's got to be the Chiefs if my brain's doing that. So
All right, back to the wheel. It's awesome.
Wow.
Oh my God.
oh, I thought it stopped. That thing just got a
Wow.
little.
That was unbelievable.
Wow.
I'm on the Chiefs myself here.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the public perception of the Chargers is it's becoming too much now. Even I was listening to sports advisors this morning, and Big Cat was talking about how I don't know if he was saying that he has a Chargers Super Bowl ticket or that he's waiting for Travis Hunter to win the Heisman. Um, which I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he should win it, but I don't think that the odds are
Reflective
whatever.
of.
I think it's closer than the odds say, but we can save that for another time. But I was just thinking, I was like, I don't think that's actually a good bet. I think it's a bad bet. I understand that it's the Chargers; they're playing out of their ass. They're really stepping up. They're playing tough games. They're dragging teams into the mud. All that. That's a team that Quentin Johnson's still getting like 5 targets a game. That's not a Super Bowl winning team. It's just not going to happen. So I don't like that bet. But then I heard that and I was like, I feel like we're getting a little too optimistic about the Chargers here. I feel like everyone's waiting for the Chiefs to, they keep saying, oh, they're not winning big games or they're not blowing teams out or anything. I feel like this is going to be a surprise blowout. They're going to come out and they need to kind of establish themselves. Not like it's college football, they need a resume game, but yeah, I just feel like in division, I think they're going to come out. They're going to play with a little intensity. I think it's a good matchup for Hopkins. Travis Kelce, he's looking to break Tony Gonzalez's franchise record for touchdowns. Um, Tony Gonzalez said he has his blessing to do his slam dunk celebration, and Gonzalez is willing to pay the fine because the NFL fines for that stuff now. So I don't know. I feel like they're going to be, looking for touchdowns. It's going to be a big Patrick Mahomes passing night. Pacheco, I think he's going to, get a little bit more usage now. He came back from that injury and split the carries evenly with Kareem Hunt. So I feel like they're going to start moving back into that direction. I do think the offense is better with him at running back. So I feel like they're going to start getting into their groove and getting ready for the postseason since they're already there. They already clinched. Um, I know that it's one extra week, so maybe it's a little bit different. And again, I just said how I don't believe that stat about Kirk Cousins indoors. I don't believe that the Chiefs are the earliest team to ever clinch. The Patriots went 17-0. I don't care what you say. The Patriots went undefeated. In my mind, they clinched first. I don't give a shit what the stats say. I don't care what the timing says. I just don't believe that a team with a loss on their record clinched before an undefeated team, no matter how big the schedule is, how small it is, anything like that. But yeah, I like the Chiefs to just come out and make a statement. I think it's a small enough number where I feel comfortable saying that. All right. Kristen.
So we've been in the spot a few times I think each of the last couple of weeks, um, where the Costanza's in play. Let me just what are you guys seeing?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
look, that's why we have the Costanza in, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you
yeah.
have to pick. You
I
have to
just,
pick with.
full transparency. Wanted to make sure that share this. Um, so yeah, I was on the Chargers. Chiefs have lost the last six against the spread. Maybe they're due. Mahomes 24-39-2 is a favorite of 3.5 or more. It's the worst QB mark in the NFL by a large margin. Herbert 10-2-1 against the spread as a dog of three or more. 6-1-1 against the AFC West. Herbert's 6-0 against the spread at night as a dog of 3.5 or more. So yeah, I was on the Chargers, but Chiefs roll.
Also, Led McConkey, who's been an absolute stud for the Chargers, is like super banged up right now, and is I think looking like a true game time decision, or limited if he is to play.
I did see
He has a few. He has a few injuries.
I did see that Pro Football Doc talked about it, and he said, like, despite the injuries, there's nothing that should prohibit him from playing.
Right.
So he should be good to play. Yeah, I don't know how much he'll be impacted, but
Yeah, sometimes that's not always a good thing. That's like the old Mike Williams thing. Mike
yeah,
Williams and Keenan Allen, who, both on the
yeah,
Chargers. But I,
yeah.
I remember Big Brain, they used to talk about Zach when Keenan Allen was questionable and it was a Sunday or Monday night game. And he looks into the camera while he's stretching, is like, "Start me! Start me!"
Yeah.
And he, like
And
what?
he got like 0 targets.
Yeah, I just don't I don't know if the Chargers obviously have bigger aspirations, I'm sure, this season. Go getting into the playoffs and making a statement out there, getting a game or two in the playoffs. I just if the Chiefs get up a little early in the game, I don't think they're going to be pushing Lad, like giving him like
Yeah,
15 targets,
like pull
trying to
him.
run him into the ground week 14.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah, I think, I think, not to like go against my pick, but just to put more support behind the pick we're making. This is a spot where, probably better to just be on the side of the team that appears to be getting healthier right now.
Yeah.
Uh, and, is probably in a position where, like, not to say that, the Chargers aren't playing for a lot, but they're in a pretty good spot from a playoff perspective. And if they do fall behind early, maybe they will pull some guys back. Whereas, the Chiefs, it seems like there's a lot that they have to gain from this game and the time as guys are coming back together. The Kelsey stuff with the touchdown, making sure that happens, getting Pacheco back up. As Kieran said, like split carries last week, maybe just starting to get him more into, game shape so he's ready for that stretch run. Obviously, they've lost six in a row against the spread. There's questions about how close some of these games have been. And maybe it's more of like, we're going to use more of this game to just kind of keep getting back to what we know it can be. So
Yep.
I think, I think we're probably on the side of a team that just has a lot more to gain from the game.
I'm looking too, and because you guys know how I like to look at like the covers blogs and anything like that, because anytime I feel like I read it to focus on the language that they use, and if I feel like they're being like, "Oh, there's no way this loses," that's usually when I look to fade. I never look to tail a pick just because I like the reasoning. I look to fade because I think that they're too confident in the other side. But I'm looking at this Action Network blog too, and it's one of those where it's like Mahomes struggles as a big favorite. Then they say is a favorite of 3.5 points or more. And it's like, okay, well, they're
The
4 point
4 point.
favorites. Why are we calling it? And then like, okay, the stat is still the stat. When it's 4 points or 3.5 points or more, he's still a losing pick. But it's like, why are we framing that as big favorite? What are we doing here? Let's be realistic here. We can make our points and still be realistic. There's not, but yeah, calling 4 point favorites a big favorite is a little stinky to me. Okay, Boots.
Well, and who knows too? I mean, that game maybe it closes at 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that could be a thing. Or actually, I was just thinking if McConkey's out, it would probably go up. I was going to say if McConkey was out, maybe that goes
Yeah.
down. But and maybe if he's confirmed good to go, maybe it goes down half a point. Who knows? But yeah, What is this? Mahomes and when did they last play? I'm seeing their spread on extended rest. They're actually not that great against the spread. When did they play last? Who did they? I don't even remember. Oh, Black Friday.
Yeah, against the Raiders.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Monday game.
Bengals at Cowboys +6.
What a sick game.
I know. It's actually, I mean, I see the vision with the schedule makers, but
Me too. No, yeah,
it's
yeah,
tough
definitely.
now.
Preseason, great game, big implications.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could have been like the game of the year.
Yeah.
Literally could have been fantastic.
Over
Division
under,
leader game.
over under would have been like 62.
Yeah. Yeah, like it probably would have been like one of the highest totals of the season, all that. But all right, here we go. Hmm? Wow.
Wow. Jesus.
Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, that's not.
Man, this wheel's on one today.
I like the
Yeah.
Cowboys +6 here. Cooper Rush, I really don't think is that bad. He had the really bad first game, but it's like let's not forget the run that he went on. What was it? I guess 2 years ago, maybe when Dak broke his leg or whatever. He was a good quarterback when he played for the Cowboys back then. And then after getting past that first game where they put up like 7 points against the Eagles, who are like the best team in the league right now. They've actually been pretty damn good. They've been able to move the ball. He can throw it. He can get over, he can throw for 200 plus yards, do all that stuff. I just think it's a good matchup for them. I'm looking at it, and I think that they can move the ball effectively on this Bengals secondary. I think that Rico Dowdle, now that he's kind of taken over that backfield and he's gotten, like 20 plus touches over the last couple of games each. I think that he's going to be able to run the ball. He can find the end zone. They still have CeeDee Lamb. I think that the tight ends, I don't know if Ferguson's going to be back, but Schoonmaker's been playing well in his absence. I just think it's a good matchup for them. I think that it's too many points for a Bengals team that doesn't seem to want to win these games and get themselves back into the playoff picture. So I'm going to take the points at home.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I'm also on the Cowboys +6. I do feel like there's something just clearly off about the Bengals, and I think similar to what you were talking about, Kieran. Like I just feel like the Cowboys are continuing to play hard despite kind of what they are and where they are. Cooper Rush 7-3 ATS as a starter, 5-0 when less than a 7-point dog. They've won 8 of their last 10 straight up the week after Thanksgiving. Burrow on Monday night, not good, 0-2-1. If he doesn't cover this week, he'll join Case Keenum as the only QBs with 4 Monday Night Football starts without a cover. So, I'm on the boys.
All right.
Who's making this next pick, Bowen or Costanza?
Oh boy. Let's see what the wheel says.
Like what you see, Costanza? All right.
Yeah, it's a Costanza.
Oh man.
It's impossible for me to stomach the Bengals. But now I guess we're on the Bengals, but
You're a man of integrity.
I can't I couldn't in good faith sit here and say Bengals after what they did to me and us last week. I still feel that, and I watched that entire game, and they're awful. They have no business being a 6-point favorite in any game until probably next year. I don't even want to hear it. I don't even think they should be favorites in any game the rest of the year, regardless of opponent. Even with like the worst team in the league, they should be. I mean, they lost to the Pats this year, but they should be a pick 'em with the worst team in the league right now. That defense on any given week is the worst in the league, and yeah, for that reason, we are on them this week because Costanza. But
I
Uh,
love the Costanza pick. I
I
love
do
it.
think I do think with the Bengals
Sure
and the
do.
Cowboys, they're both
Love the
having
Bengals.
terrible years in different ways. The Cowboys, you can truly, you know, say injuries played a huge factor. Obviously, their season's been long gone for a while now, and it really is. Just because they haven't had their best players out in the field, I think it would be a bit different if Dak, DeMarcus Lawrence, Parsons, I know is back, but if he played a full season, um, so I do think it would look a little differently. The Bengals, that's not really the case. They're just they're just a bad team. They're not a depleted team. They're just a bad team who's been terrible. So I think the Cowboys are still playing with a bit of pride, and I don't think the Bengals are doing that right now in the slightest.
All right.
I mean,
Costanza.
to be fair, I mean, obviously I was on the Cowboys side, but I mean, all three of us were. But as I was going through, I just kept thinking, I was like, this very easily could just be like an absolute ass whooping too. Like I'm not ruling that out. Like I think playing like the percentages and everything, I like the Cowboys side more, but it's pretty close in my mind because there is just always the chance that Jamar Chase and I mean I don't know these just seem like Burrow, Chase, Higgins. These seem like guys that are like we're playing at AT&T, we're playing at Jerry's World on Monday Night Football. Let's just go fucking nuts, put up 40 points. And I don't always know if the Cowboys can keep up with that. So it's like even though I did like the Cowboys side, like, if I'm
Yeah.
betting on this game 100 times, then I'm taking the Cowboys because I think they're going to cover more often. But I do think that there is a strong percentage possibility that it's just an absolute ass kicking 40-6, some type of thing like that where Chase has 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, Higgins has 150 and a score or something like that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
haven't Costanza ourselves in a while. It's feels good almost.
We feel due for a Costanza win. So, all right. Recapping the picks. We got Bowen on the Vikings -5.5. We got Kieran on the Giants +4.5. I'm on the Dolphins -5.5. We're on the Chiefs -4. Kieran and Bowen were on that side. And then Costanza is on the Bengals -6. Those are the
All right.
picks.
Nice.
5-0 gets us there.
5-0
That'd be
gets.
fucking
I
awesome.
will say, I mean, not to have like a loser mentality or anything, but if the season were to end today with a 30-34-1 record, I'd feel like that was a good day's work. I'd be happy with what we did. You can't always expect to go out hit 60%, but the fact that we're here after what could have been, the last few weeks could have been bad.
Yeah.
Our record could be horrendous. So I think I'm proud of where we're at this far in the season.
We got
Yeah.
off to a historically bad start. I
Yeah.
feel like as a group, we were like low teens and like mid 20s there for a second, like 12 and like 26. You know what I mean? We had some like tough looking weekly records.
Yeah, we went two and
weeks.
three. So we went 2-3, 1-4, 2-3, 1-4. So after 4 weeks, we were, let's see, 2-8, 4-14. And then we went 3-2, 2-3, 1-4. So even though we mixed in like a 3-2 there, we went back to our losing ways. So we were what, 4-14. So then, is that right? That's not right. 3, 7, 10.
I'll go back check the Twitter thread.
6-14. So then we were 9-16, 11-19, 12-23. But yeah, not great. All right.
I'm looking at the Twitter because I update the year to date every week.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, 5-10, 6-14, 9-16. God damn.
It got bad there for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9-16. Then it looks like that's where we're starting to. That's where we started to turn things around.
Also, a start to the start of the new quarter. I saw the Circa tweet. The last 5 weeks is the last quarter of the season. So,
All right.
Yeah, I mean, look, clean slate as far as we're concerned, So
Do you guys know the payout for a?
it was split amongst I don't know how many teams, but like the top teams last quarter got paid out like $38,000, I believe it's something like that. Like the top 8 teams or something. I don't know how it broke down, but I think it's $300,000 per quarter split up amongst the top teams or something like that.
I'd be happy with any share of
Um,
it.
yeah, so I don't know however that works, but I mean, the past month we've been hitting pretty good. We've been pretty solid the past month or past 3 weeks or whatever it is. So let's uh let's keep it rolling.
Let's do it.
Yeah, what is it? I'm trying to do the math. Since we were 9-16, we are. Yeah, I guess it's not that great. 21-18
Hey,
and one.
no,
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
good.
great.
I mean,
I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was just gonna be a little more aesthetically better
pleasing.
looking.
Yeah. Yeah. But we've had, yeah, because we had, well, the issue, like, we had back-to-back 2 and 3 weeks, and
Yeah,
then we ripped off the 5-0, and then we went 3-2. So it's,
yeah,
it's more of right now we've
yeah.
won eight of
But in
our
that
last.
span, well, I see. We had the 4-1, and then of course we had the 5-0.
Yeah.
And that's in like the last like 5 weeks or something. So
Yep.
yeah, it's a good
All
trend.
right.
All right. Good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you.
I'll
Later.
see you guys.
Later.